Hey guys, welcome out to the Gaming Book Club, episode 2 for the month of May.
You've changed the name.
2018. So you've ruined that intro, Chris. If you listen to the last, podcast, I'm going to keep this in. If you listen to the last podcast, I actually did call it the Gaming Book Club as well.
Did you?
I didn't call it a game.
I still like Quest for Intelligence.
If you Quest for Intelligence, if you go onto the video, it's called Game Book Club.
Okay.
So anyway. Welcome to the Game Book Club, episode 2 for the month of May 2018. I'm joined, as always, by Masofdas, Chris Mangeli.
Hi everyone.
And the man, the myth, the legend, Scalebeck 01, Peter J. Morris.
Hi guys.
So guys, month number 2, how are we doing? Are we still feeling fresh and happy? And
now
that we've settled on a name apparently for the third time.
Plus 3 intelligence, right?
Plus 3 intelligence. It's just too hard to say intelligence quickly.
Well, say it slowly, Dave, it's fine.
Plus 3 intelligence.
It
sounds like the intro to a bad game. Which we will make.
Yeah, amazing.
So this month we have been playing Yakuza Zero on the PlayStation 4.
Yep.
Which is a different game to the game we played last month, which was of course Metro Prime. This game was Pete's choice.
It was indeed.
So well done to Pete. So what we're going to do is I've got a list of conversation starters, and we're going to try and do what we did last time. But we're going to start with first impressions, and we'll start with Mr. First Impressions, Chris Mangeli.
Right, okay. First impressions, when I started playing it when it came out January last year, I want to say 2017. I played it for about 10 minutes. I thought, this is really good. Then obviously it completely changes from when I've been playing more of the title.
So when you say it was really good, what did you like about it initially, and what did you sort of not like going back?
If anyone that listens to this knows me, and obviously if not, I'm a big fan of Shenmue on the Dreamcast, and for years and years and years there's been the Twitter thing, Save Shenmue, then obviously Shenmue 3 came, then it became Save Shenmue HD, and then obviously later now people are just saying it's safe and stuff. But it's always been talks of Yakuza being the spiritual successor for Shenmue, and that's even true because the last month since Shenmue 3 and Shenmue HD are actually a thing, and people were showing their collections of Shenmue, and there's tons and tons of pictures. You can go on Shenmue fan sites, I'm up there somewhere with my Shenmue games on Dreamcast, and people have also got their Yakuza collections, and I've seen one bloke's got a huge statue of the main guy with K, not the other one.
Yeah, Kiryu.
Yeah, Kiryu. It's statue of him, and they've got their Shenmue stuff and their Yakuza stuff together. It's oh yeah, this is the spiritual successor, and that's first impressions playing it. It's oh yeah, this is Shenmue. I can kind of get it. And, when first off, I was yeah, I'm gonna really enjoy this.
Nice, man. My first impression, generally, because I'd never played Shenmue back in the day. I'd heard about Yakuza, the series, through the grapevine. People saying, you've got to check it out. It's a little bit like GTA. It's a little bit different. I got it for Christmas. I actually hadn't touched it until we started doing this game month, but I thought, it seems like a perfect opportunity. First 10 minutes, I thought for a PS4 game, it looked a bit dated. Honestly, I will say lots of positive things later, but my first impression was it's a bit dated, and it's an interesting concept, but it was quite slow. That was generally my first impression of the game. Actually wasn't massively positive, despite that changing later on down the line. How about yourself, Dave?
Yeah, I kind of echo that sentiment really, because I've played Yakuza 2 and I think Yakuza 4. I've played 2 of the games. Definitely haven't played the first one, but I think it was 2 and 4 when we were at university. And I kind of did the same. I turned it on. I was okay, kind of nice graphically in terms of the character models. I think the character models are fantastic. And then a lot of the clearly PS3 port jank started to set in, not a lot of voice acting. The intro is really weird because there's some really good cutscenes as we get to later in the game, but the sort of opening of the game has a sort of weird cutscene with no context, and then it has really bad character art conversation with the guy in a car, and it's really off-putting how dated it feels. Yeah, and it's very slow. I'd say the first hour is painfully slow. And so for my first impression was kind of the same as I guess what both of you said. I wasn't overly impressed. I found the setting very interesting. I think Japan. I think is it 90s or was it 80s?
80s.
It might be
80s, yeah.
It's very interesting as a setting because it's not something that's done very often, really, especially not in a third person game like that. So I thought my first impressions were kind of like, I suppose is the wording is sort of like, okay, this isn't that impressive, but it's also not Duke Nukem Forever, you know what I mean? So like, which is it's my platform for shit. It's Duke Nukem Forever, but it wasn't that completely. I suppose moving on from first impressions overall, I think gameplay first impressions. It feels because I've always seen it as I've always thought it was like GTA, like you said, like an open world game, but really it's very linear, and that surprised me. There's a lot of invisible walls. It's kind of like do this to this, especially the beginning is do this, find a payphone. And really, it's more like a linear 3D version of, say,
Streets of
Rage. Yeah, totally. Like it's way more like Streets of Rage than Shenmue, which did surprise me, to be honest with you. And I think initially it was I was disappointed maybe because I don't think the combat, especially for Kiryu at the beginning, is not that interesting. It's not really until you get to Masima that the combat gets really fun with like the capoeira style and stuff. But yeah, so like initially the combat wasn't that impressed, and game design I wasn't either. But I think the shining light of the game is clear at the beginning, and that's the story. And obviously, like we're not going to get into too much spoilers for Yakuza Zero because I think it is quite a important story for the rest of the series. It is an origin story, hence why it's called Zero. But yeah, I'd be interested to see what you guys think of sort of the initial story beats with Kiryu, probably the first 2 chapters before you get to Masima.
Yeah, Chris, do you want to go first?
Okay, go.
Yeah, I got.
Because this is the bit you played.
Yeah, this is the bit I've actually played. I got to the burlesque place, whatever you want to call it. No, cabaret, isn't it? I've got to there
cabaret.
In chapter 3.
Cabaret is a type of. Is it a food or a car, Pete? I'm not.
a chevron.
Anyway, I got to chapter 3, and basically what you're saying, the game is really, really, really slow, and it just felt like it felt like a chore to play it. And as you said, the game isn't. It opens up now and again, and there'll be certain missions where you can only go straight. So, like when I first started it, I thought, this is just setting up the scene, getting you like used to it, and then you get to a point where you can wander the city. So it's wander around the city, go to the arcade, and all that sort of stuff. The thing that Shenmue sort of does, where you can go do things. But if you're not doing that and just doing the story, I just felt it. Even in chapter 2, it just felt drawn out.
I felt you were 2 chapters away. Like when I got to chapter 4, because you do basically, and Pete will probably back this up because I think Pete's played about the same as me.
Yeah.
You do two chapters as one character, and then you switch to the other character, and then you kind of have a bit of free reign between some of the main missions.
Right.
And the side stuff is very similar to Shenmue. So it's got Outrun, Afterburner, stuff like that you can play, and there's bowling, and there's
I did bits of that, and they just I don't know, they just didn't feel right. It lacked that charm.
Yeah, it feels like a game from last generation. I think that's the biggest. I don't think it's a bad thing, but I think that's sort of like the way of saying it. Like the mini games feel very last generation. I know Pete really enjoyed the mini games.
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah. I will admit though, some of them are very basic and definitely feel dated. Though, Chris, I don't know if you got to the kind of the cat fighting.
I got to that, yeah.
Did you get there, sorry, Chris, or not?
Yeah.
No.
You did? You didn't get there? Oh, man. See, that was one of the funniest mini-games. Dave, you've played it, right?
I have played it. It's hilarious.
Yeah,
the
so
women fighting each other and stuff.
You basically pick a fighter, and it's some bizarre-ass rock, paper, scissors mini-fighting game.
And you can, like, dress them up, and it's...
Yeah, that, like, if you've ever seen the anime, is it Kiju or Kenju sort of thing? It sort of reminds me of that. It's just absolutely bizarre. And there's all these guys betting huge amounts of money, and that's how you get tons of cash later on in the game. And then they have like a full campaign based around the little fucking Scale Electric cars, and that was really fun, changing that stuff out.
The hostess bit, I just started doing before we started doing this. Is the sort of the hostess, like almost like weird like dating thing you do in your club with Masima.
Oh god, yeah.
You know, with the fucking naked dancing dude in the white pants.
Man, the naked dancing dude, he's amazing. Yeah, he just appears randomly. He's like, you're a perv as well.
And the music that plays when he does it is great. But like, so that's like, it's really hard to, again, like the hardest thing I think for doing things like this is that the initial probably 5 hours is kind of boring.
Yeah, and 5 hours is a lot
especially
of
if you
time
haven't
to
played
play
the other games as well, and it is a lot of time. Like if you've played Yakuza 1, the significance of Nishiki and Kiryu in particular is really big, and so you're kind of invested a little bit. If you haven't played those games, especially Nishiki, is kind of like, okay, who's this guy? Because he's a massive character in the first game, and he's referenced throughout the second and I think sixth game actually.
Yeah.
And if you haven't played those games, then I won't spoil it for you, but like the significance of that is really important. But yeah, like it is so slow, especially Kiryu, because Kiryu is not a very exciting guy at this point in his career. I know later in the games he's quite like in the 6 you can see in like the trailers he's like throwing babies in the air to fight people and stuff. Like he's quite a stoic
they always
man
have
in
really
the
good
beginning of the first game.
trailers. That's what's like drawn me to the series. And he's saying about all these mini games in like a 3-minute trailer. I was like, it all looks really good, but it's getting there is the problem.
Yeah.
It's just like I said, it's just a bit too drawn out.
The only one I didn't like was karaoke,
right?
Because I'd just done Sleeping Dogs, and it really annoyed me because in Yakuza it has two layers.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, Pete. Like this is because we're game designers, Pete. This is why it annoys me, because there's plenty of room to make it just be along the bottom of the screen, and the timing really throws me off, and that's why I didn't like it. But it's hilarious to watch, and there's some of the ending flashy scenes and stuff.
Oh, the ending flashy scenes are amazing. They're wearing like cowboy outfits and doing this kind of really flamboyant dancing. It's like, wow. And then it goes back into the little like a shady room karaoke bar they've been singing in.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Right, so we'll move on to sort of what we like now. Okay, so I think we've talked quite a bit about different things. So if we'll start with Pete, what is like your favourite thing, the reason you would recommend this game to someone who hasn't played it?
Probably quite easily is the story, and particularly the side quests. Like they, for me, have so much depth. They're really interesting. Like very different to every other sort of side quest you'll get in other games. They might have some of the same like fetch quest sort of feel to them, but just the actual narrative of the side quest is just so different. For example, one of them is a girl off the street decides to pick you up and say, "Hey, I need you to kind of be my boyfriend for basically a meal with my father," and you have to kind of sit there and answer questions about why you're going out with this guy's daughter, and you have no idea what the hell is going on. It's kind of just, it's luck of the Irish, kind of just pressing buttons and hoping you're going to say something that's going to impress this woman's father, basically. There's a side quest that, of course, revolves around the sort of naked dancing jiggle man. There's side quests that revolve around very Japanese topics, like the idea of selling underwear. I mean, that was a bizarre story, but very interesting to kind of play through. And that's not to mention, like, later side quests, and what I've heard actually include directors like Steven Spielberg, and musician Michael Jackson, for some reason, is in there as well. I didn't get to these parts, but I've heard stories, side quests that will have this in there.
The side quests are very cool. I did the one I did just not too long ago actually. I did one where you're a producer. You're basically pretending to be a producer for a bit.
Oh yeah.
And like it's a silly short side quest. But you're right. It's very different. Like the rest, it kind of feels like it's two different games in that respect, because the story is very serious.
Oh god, yeah.
Like the story, the main campaign is incredibly serious. Whereas these weird side quests almost feel like from what I've been playing at the minute, almost feel kind of like The Witcher, like they're their own self-contained story.
Yeah, and they
see
are.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. And they have their own little campaigns.
It's really strange.
Yeah, totally.
It's really cool though, and I think the problem is I think they should have pushed that aspect of the game a lot more early on.
Yeah.
But I think by the time you get to say chapter 2, maybe chapter 3, when you really start doing that, you don't really know what you're doing, because the map is very foreign to traverse. There is no kind of like fast travel. It's you get caught in fights constantly, which is, well, when we get to dislikes, I'll probably talk about that more. But that's the kind of thing. But the side quests are fantastic. They are one of the highlights of the game for sure.
Totally. And also, like, again, going to the main story, I thought, it's a very deep, very dark story, and it starts off a bit, slow and boring, but where I got to, I guess, like chapter 6, chapter 7 area, it's definitely kind of picked up pace, and you're swapping characters much more regularly. Without spoiling too much, there's a girl that's blind. You'll meet her, and the reason behind her being blind, this isn't going to spoil much, but basically she was heavily abused and raped, basically, by the Yakuza. And you're like, holy shit, that's pretty dark and pretty deep for a story that has, a naked jiggle man for a side quest.
And the rest of the games do follow that trajectory. The first game in particular has very similar story beats. I think you'll really like the first game actually. Having had a conversation about it now. To follow on from the story, actually, we'll go into my likes about it. The story, I can't put into sort of a context how good the voice acting is, considering it's not my native language.
Yes.
Even though it's subtitles, the voice acting is fantastic. You feel the emotion and the sort of grandeur of everything. So like early on you have like Kuze, who's a dick, you know what I mean? He's just a dick. He's one of the bosses, like the first boss you really fight in the game. But the voice actor is so gravelly and sounds like a Yakuza. It really fits the character, and the character design themselves is really well done. There's really good lip syncing and stuff, and I think that's probably one of my highlights of the game, is that every character feels important.
Yes,
if that makes sense. Like even
totally.
like the weird characters, so like I think it's Kishima, like the Kasuma's like weird like dude who sort of like beats you up quite early on at the beginning.
Oh yeah, Mr. What's it called?
Yeah, I think it's Mr. Kashima or Mr. Kashima or something like that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like even him is like a basically nothing character in the game. Feels developed through the way he looks, through his voice actor, through the context of him in the story. Like it's that sort of Yakuza respect, I think, which comes across really strongly. And Nishiki especially, I think, is a really because he's so different in the first game, and again I don't want to spoil it, that it's really funny to me how likeable a character he is in this game.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like okay, and obviously Kiryu's great. Masuma's hilarious. The second guy, Chris. I know you haven't played that bit, but he is so funny.
Oh
He's
yeah,
my favourite.
I did obviously his like intro and how like he handles the guy in like the
in the club,
the
wine bottle
how
and
that's
stuff.
all done.
The champagne bottle, sorry.
It's pretty decent. He looked like he'd be a cool character and stuff.
Yeah, he's got some really cool quips and stuff. Like you could imagine, like I'd play it. I don't know which games he's the main character for, but like those are probably the games that I would more likely try and play.
Yeah, I was gonna say if like I started with him instead, I would maybe have got more invested in it. I know saying it's slightly more lighthearted, but it might have like being more fun might have kept me into the game. Where like playing as Kiryu, it seems much more of a chore.
Yeah, I think it's because Kiryu's more serious. I think that's really it. I think they are very keen to push the origin story of the franchise.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Kiryu is the focal point. But you are right. I think Masuma's probably a little bit easier to like, and again, his fighting style is fantastic. Like that capoeira style, I can't remember what it's called.
That's not the
my
bat,
favourite.
man. It's the baseball bat. I love his baseball bat combat. That's what I always go
really?
to. Yeah.
I love the capoeira like swinging leg, drunken monkey fighting stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. His combat, all different styles, are generally better than Kuru's. I think Kuru's only real fighting style that I personally like using most of the time is his rush style.
Yeah, I love the rush one.
Yeah.
It feels like a beat 'em up.
Yes.
Like I hated his brawler one's too slow, and the one with the weapons isn't great even. I didn't unlock the fourth because I know there's 4 for each, isn't it? I think you have to do something to unlock the last one. I didn't get that far.
You have like a fighting trainer, basically. You know the guy who you bump into is always in debt. And always
fucking Bacchus.
Yes, he is the guy who gives you the different fighting style. I think the last one.
Yeah, because you got to train with the girl, don't you, with Kiryu?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. She gives you tiger style or whatever.
Yeah.
So that'd be
cool,
that's the 4th style there.
Yeah. So Chris, I know you haven't played a lot. What is your sort of favourite aspect of the game?
Really, it's the setting. Obviously, Big Japan is one cool, but obviously in the 80s as well, like how it's like all the neon lights and everything. Yeah, it has to be like the setting of the game, even when it goes into the club. How grand it is. It's just a shame that it's a chore to play.
See, I wouldn't ever say it's a chore to play, but I can 100% get behind the first few hours are slow. And I'd say after chapter 3, that's when it really starts kicking into proper gear, and you have access to the whole map basically, and doing all the side quests. And I guess I liked even the bit like going into shops and getting food, sitting down having a meal and recovering health.
Yeah, that's always cool. Going to go play Outrun is, you can't really moan at that.
I played a lot of Space Harrier. I played like an hour of Space Harrier. So I don't own Space Harrier anymore. So it was like, it's cool to play that.
Damn, actually, I played bowling quite a bit. That's what I really enjoyed.
That's because you love the Wii P.
It reminded me of Super Monkey Bowling, of course, and I'm a massive Super Monkey Ball fan.
Oh, you need to bring that back. You need to bring that back.
Yeah.
But so I think overall we all kind of like the same things. I actually have. It's funny actually. I wrote some notes here, and every the 3 notes I've written is what you guys have said. So
Yeah.
it's good that we all kind of correlate. To get onto the dislikes, and we've kind of already talked about it. So I'll start it off because I'm always Mr. Negative, so that's more fun.
I didn't know you were going to be in the new Spider-Man game.
God, Chris, sponsored by Insomniac.
Sponsor
Overdrive's great, guys. Everyone play it.
Yeah.
But the graphics feel really dated, but in a weird way, because and I've kind of talked about this earlier, but it feels like 2 games. So the character models are really good, like fantastic. If you said to me they're on the PS4, I'd go, yes, that's a PS4 game. The rest of it, if you said to me it was on the PS2, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, there is just there's so much stuff that's reused. The buildings look like crap, and like the invisible wall thing, just really, honestly, it's like it really dragged me out because I thought the setting, like Chris, was fantastic and really interesting, and then you would just get smashed back to reality by a game design feature from 10 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it's so frustrating to me because the like I said, the characters and the voice acting, all that kind of stuff, even the music is really good, but just wandering around the city, especially the starting area with Kiryu, is just so just laborious, I suppose is the word. And to go with the data design, the amount of fighting it expects you to do when you're trying to do a mission is borderline Final Fantasy VII ludicrous. Like, every time you go around the corner, 3 dudes jump you, you punch them about a bit, you move on, you go around the corner, 4 more dudes jump you, you punch them a bit, and then you go to a payphone and answer a phone call, then turn around, walk back, run into some dude. You know what I mean? Like, it's so frustrating because, like I said, I wanted to get to the side quests because, like, you know, everyone had told me how fun the side quests were, and I was just getting caught up by these pointless fights. And I get that you use the money to improve your character, I really do, but I just was so fed up of that. That was really the thing that sort of stopped me loving the game, really, is the just constant interruptions when you were trying to do something or other. Now, I don't know if that's because I've played other games, like Sleeping Dogs recently, where it doesn't do that, or if that's just a design choice from the PS3 and the PS2 versions of the game, so I get they have to keep them all kind of the same, because when you go and play the next game, you don't want it to feel like a game 20 years older than the game. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I kind of understand that, but I don't know if you guys kind of agree on any of that.
I would agree.
So Chris is on the agreement. I actually only disagree with that one, actually. I liked the random fights. And I really quite liked the combat. Again, not maybe the initial starting combats, but when you got rush mode, I thought the fights were really quite quick. Mostly like 30 seconds to a minute. Yeah, that didn't bother me in the slightest. Like, I like the map being quite in-depth and being able to go down little side quests, side alleys. I really quite like that. I do agree with the invisible walls. I think in modern-day game design, you'd have had the ability to potentially go across the road or being hit by a car or something else would have happened to kind of keep you in that immersion. But yeah, I disagree on the fights. I really quite liked them. Like, I can't see how they would have done them elsewise to have made them seem still relevant. I mean, and yeah, like, so you still is a brawler at heart, really, because it's a brawler game. So if you didn't have the fights, you're taking away one big element of it, and you wouldn't have the practice leading up to the bosses and to the harder parts of the game.
I think that's a pretty fair point. I suppose I'd probably like them a little bit more entwined into some of the side quests, but I suppose the reason that is because they wanted to make the side quests much more different, of their own standalone story, and I completely understand that. I completely understand why they designed the game that way. I just personally didn't enjoy it. I purely think it's because I've been playing a much more modern combat game, and I genuinely, I said that to you when we started doing this actually at the beginning of the month. I feel like I probably shouldn't have played Sleeping Dogs had I known I was going to get into Yakuza 0, because it's just that sort of Batman Arkham combat style, to me, is a lot more satisfying, and I love beat 'em ups. I really do. I'm a big Streets of Rage and Final Fight guy. Yeah. But for whatever reason, I found it annoying when I was playing it. I found the combat itself fun. Yeah. But it's just the constantly doing it I didn't enjoy, because I didn't feel like I was developing, because it's used the money. I suppose if there'd been a pure experience bar, if that makes sense, I think I might have found it a bit more satisfying. Yeah. But that's a pure personal preference to me, just because I'm, game designer, I guess. So I guess that kind of stuff annoys me more than it used to. I think if I played this game like when the first one originally came out, which was like 2004, I think I'd have been like, oh, this is really cool. Yeah. But yeah, you kind of the same there, Chris?
Yeah, pretty much the same. And I said why I don't like it. I felt the game is a chore. But I might have had a similar problem with you. Obviously, you played Sleeping Dogs and gone to this. I know God of War is very different, but coming off like a 25, 30 hour big epic game and then going into another one and then it's about the same amount of length, but the pacing of the two of them are completely different.
Yeah.
Like I said, in this one, you're saying, "Oh, it doesn't get going to 5 or 6 hours in." God of War gets going after 2 minutes, for instance, and they're the same length. I know it's hard to compare as sort of like apples to oranges with being different genres, but I think that's also the problem. Because after playing God of War and a bit of this, I've gone to playing like smaller like games and that. Because I don't want to play a big epic game again quite at the moment.
A lot of people have told me they've had like God of War hangover, and I think, to be honest with you, it's kind of indicative of modern games. Like the amount of games that we play nowadays, the big titles. If you play Uncharted 4, or you play God of War, if you play Horizon Zero Dawn, or any of those third-person games, even Sleeping Dogs, it's very action straight away. Like almost immediately, the first thing you do in any of those games is an action scene where you learn the controls and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas Yakuza is a much more RPG, old school RPG, especially in Japan.
It's a Japanese style one, isn't it?
It's incredibly Japanese. Yeah, and it tries to develop the story first because the story is its most important beat. You know, and like if you play, I know Pete's played Nier Automata to death, and he'll probably tell me that starts the same. But I remember the old, like Lost Odyssey, one of my favourite games of all time, has an incredibly slow intro because it's introducing you to Kai. I mean, it does have a combat scene at the beginning, Lost Odyssey, but again, it's quite slow and it develops. Blue Dragon is exactly the same and stuff like that. So I think it's more
like Nier Automata is different. That like generally, the story is key, but the combat is straight away in there. So like unlike those games,
okay.
So I mean, that's why Nier Automata was my game of the year last year. It did everything amazing. There was nothing I didn't like about that game. But yeah, like it molds combat with story straight away, so you know how to play the game. I do see what you mean. Like regarding this focuses purely on story first, with combat sort of getting in there.
I honestly think if they'd let you play the cutscene at the beginning, so we know when you get the guy that dies, you beat him up.
Yeah.
If they'd let you play that,
yeah,
I think that would have solved that problem.
Yeah, I think you're right. Actually, yeah, it have made you feel a bit more like a bit more invested in this character that's dead now. I guess is the spoilers.
Yeah, guys. and even if you have no Yakuza context, even Kiryu at the beginning, you're just like, who is this dick? Who is this guy? Why is he doing this? You have no context, do you? Actually,
no.
I've played some Yakuza games, and so I thus know he's the main character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's kind of confusing. But I think.
That's kind of weird seeing this as a prequel as well.
Yeah, it's kind of I feel like this probably should have been Yakuza 1, and I think maybe that's why I have a feeling they held on to this story for a while.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of this game reference. From what I've played already, there's a lot of reference in the first game, a lot. So I don't know whether that's a coincidence or not. I'm not that invested in the franchise to know. But I suppose to summarise, because we'll always do our weird three-way verdict.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Are any of you really, really interested in playing the next game?
Yeah, I probably will. I will generally finish this game as well. I'll happily keep playing Yakuza Zero. I'll probably get to the end of it and do all the side quests because I'm really enjoying them. One last point for the weaknesses, though, I will say is the save state's very dated. It has a...
Oh, yeah, totally.
That's just to put it in there.
Yeah, I'd actually blocked that out of my mind because I'd forgotten how bad it was. But
yeah. I started playing this morning. I was like, oh, why am I back here? I forgot to save because it has no auto-saving. And it's
that was the same thing with Metroid as well.
True, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but then Metroid came out in 2001, 2002. Yeah. So you're like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like I've been playing The Witcher 2, and that has a really good autosave system. That came out 6 years ago on console. So
yeah. But yeah, I will definitely play the next one. I think it might be a while though. I think I'll have to, because this is quite a long game if you're going to play all the side quests. I think people say it's like 40 to 80 hours long if you're playing everything. And after playing a game like that, I need a bit of a break. Yeah,
especially the way that you'll play it, because you will play it properly. You will play like 60 to 80 hours. I know you will. So and bear in mind, there's 6 games, and I know they've remade the first one.
2's already been remade, and
2 already been,
and 3, 4, and 5 are all getting remastered.
Oh, there you go. So you could, by the time that you get to them, you'll be on 8. So can I presume, Chris, that you will not be playing Yakuza Kiwami?
No, I owned Yakuza Kiwami, and hence it's on the own because I sold both it and Zero on eBay.
There we go.
Oh, really? Already gone?
Yeah.
How much did you get for Yakuza Zero on eBay then?
I think I got I sold them both for 35 quid, and then I reinvested the money in original Xbox games. So always
the best choice you've ever made with your life, Chris. I'll be honest, because the original Xbox is wonderful. I will also be selling Yakuza Zero. I don't have the heart to finish it, and the biggest reason for me, and you both know why, and you both know what I'm going to say, is I just can't stand the PS4 controller that dies every 4 minutes. So, just no, I'm not motivated to play a game that I don't love on that console, if that makes sense. That console is very much the exclusives I really enjoy. That's what I use it for. So,
yeah,
that's again a completely personal thing. And it's really lame, I get it, but I just can't bring myself to sit. If it was on the Xbox, I may finish it, but because it's on the PlayStation, I will sell it just because I just don't want to sit in front of that console.
Fair.
So overall,
yeah,
we've had some goods and some points. So now we're going to do our patented scoring system. Now, I can't remember, but if I remember rightly, the last time we did it, we all three of us used different scoring systems.
We did.
So we'll start with you, Pete, and the Pete scoring system.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to use 4 fingers out of 5.
Very good. Any sort of additional comments?
Yeah, generally, if anyone else who wants to pick up a game and give it a go, I would recommend it.
It is quite cheap as well.
It is quite cheap. I would
yeah.
definitely recommend people play it if they want an interesting story and want something a bit different. If they're after an adventure action game that isn't Western, they're after more of a Japanese style feel to a game, especially in the way the stories are played out. Definitely give it a go. You can always sell it afterwards, like Chris and Dave. How about yourselves?
I'm gonna say 6.5 out of 10.
So that's still good.
Yeah, is that you say it's still good? I'm just when you say 2s and 3s, that's things like State Fortune Fighter on the original Xbox or Duke Nukem style, and it's much better than that, even though it's a bit of a chore to play. It's not like it's broken or anything like that. It does look pretty good. The setting's cool. So I think around the 6s mark is kind of fair for it.
That's fair. How about yourself, Dave?
Well, for me, I'm going to go for the completionist play it score, because
you changed your scoring system.
Yeah, I think I did letters last
You did
time,
letters.
But,
you did, yes.
I just fuck it, I change it. I do what I want. I'm the host. Purely because I think it's incredibly dependent on personal taste. It's probably more so than any game I've played in a long time. It's very Marmite. You're either going to love it and want to finish it, or you're going to fucking hate every second of it. So I would say give it a go. Like you said, it's not an expensive game. It wasn't an expensive game when it came out, to be honest with you. But it's even more so now. It's not an expensive game. You can get it and sell it for the same price. Absolutely no issue. If you've got a PS4 especially, and you kind of want to play something a little bit different to the third-person Western RPGs that are out, that are really the main sort of pull of the console, I would certainly give Yakuza a go. As for me, I say I will not be playing Kiwami anytime soon. If I see it, they were to bring it to Xbox, or if I were to get more love for my PlayStation, I might give it a go. But hey, it was okay. It's nice to play a different game. I definitely wouldn't have played it, and that's kind of the joy of doing this gaming book club, is
that's
to play
the point.
something you're normally not going to play. So I think overall, it was a pretty okay. A lot more mixed than Metroid Prime, but again, Metroid Prime is probably one of the most revered games
on
of all
GameCube.
time. So
yeah.
So that mops up May 2018. So we have now got June, which of course was Chris's pick. And Chris, what game have you picked?
Right, first month obviously we went for Metroid Prime, which is a Nintendo exclusive on the GameCube. Then obviously Pete's gone for Yakuza Zero, which is a PlayStation exclusive on the PS4. So I thought I'd go for an Xbox game, which is actually quite of a shock. It's an original Xbox game exclusive, and personally I think it's BioWare's best singular game. I do think Mass Effect Trilogy is better, and that's Jade Empire, which I have played, but the last time I played it was in 2005. So you said this is to experience games we've not played before. I'm going into this game thinking it is the best singular BioWare game. Is it still that after 13 years? Is how I'm looking at this for this one.
13 long years. So it could be anything. And did you finish the game back in the day?
Yes.
Okay, so are you going to play as a different character this time, do you think?
I don't know, because I played as, I think she's Lotus Flower, and last time with like the claws, a bit like Wolf Raiders, by default as fighting style.
Yeah.
Nice. Have you played at all, Pete?
No, I'll be honest. I have never. I heard about Jade Empire quite a lot back in the day. There was a lot of buzz around it. I know, Dave, you've talked about it in the past, but
it was quite a late original Xbox game.
Yeah,
I think it came out like 2 months before the 360 or something like that.
Very close to 360.
But I basically
played
only original Xbox back then, apart from like Nintendo exclusives. So I picked it up before I was waiting for the 360. But I know a lot of people would have missed it because obviously.
What's on back to back
PS2.
now?
Yeah,
so, like, that's
is.
one of the best
And
things.
so this is kind of the first time we're actually going to be experiencing it on vastly different sort of settings, because Chris has got an X.
Yeah, and it is an X.
And it is X enhanced, and it does look fantastic. It still looks pretty good on our consoles, Pete, I won't lie, but it would be very interesting to see any differences we find graphically. So that will be next month.
Yep.
So thank you all for listening to our ramblings, and I have been your host, EOFGizmo. I have been joined by Masofdas, Chris Bengali.
Thanks for having me.
And the Scalebeck, Peter J. Morris.
It's always a pleasure.
And we will see you next month. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.